The reign of Kashtiras finally is coming to an end. You guys smash the balloon crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. Hi Kashtiras, how are you? Finally, things have been shifting in the meta. I've been sifting through all of this tournament data. If you've been watching all of these videos throughout the week here, actually last week too, for early meta analysis, you noticed a couple of common things. Kashtiras was kind of starting to fall off. Now, keep in mind that with case tournament data, I mean, it usually is more impactful based on, more localized results. But some of these tournaments are pulling in 50, 60 numbers. Regional season does return this week. But on the early side of things, Kashtiras is kind of fading off into the sunset. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not still here, right? Don't misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm saying that, it being on the top of its game here, the craziest echelon deck, no, it's kind of being edged out by another competitor right now. And because you're having a dial back on Kashtiras, which I'm also assuming has to do with people are sick of playing this deck. All right, let's not forget the fact that if you've played a deck for so long, people will start to gravitate towards testing out other variations of things within the metagame. That always happens. Remember, it's always, the fresh car smell. Brand new things are entering into the metagame. So you've got several factors contributing to this right now. One, Kashtiras is not exactly the funnest deck in the room to play. There is a better competitor, it feels like now. And on the dial back of Kashtiras, other decks in the room are getting the chance to kind of, step into the light. And I think that's actually a lot to kind of take in. When the most impressive decks start seeing less representation, other things will kind of start to push back, and you will see those differences in the meta start to take hold. So what's going on with Kashtiras? Why is this deck starting to see less play? I mean, besides, the overall factors that we stated. Well, some of it's got to do with the latest releases. Duelist Nexus did some pretty cool things, and that's going to lead us into Purely over here. Purely has kind of edged itself out as I would say, best deck in the room. And that's honestly competing with Cash for, I would say, the Et and Cash are kind of neck and neck for best deck, but looking at a lot of these tournament representations here, I've been seeing way more. If Cash is showing up, it's a 1 to 2 up. If the 2 up, all right? It's been usually one of it hasn't been winning in large dominance. It's usually been Purely who's been doing things. That's not to say that Purely, is a crazy, strong, oppressive deck. I mean, sometimes the cat, the big one, can be an annoyance. But the thing is, the deck got the consistent upgrade that it kind of wanted to see. And, I mean, being able to make the big cats a little bit harder now, and it's not like the deck is totally unbeatable in the current state. It's just, it pushed back against Kashtiras here, and it's got a pretty good matchup across the board. And, I mean, honestly, when you can make a pretty good strong board and you can board break your opponent, or you can go first, set up a big cat, and your opponent doesn't, have an out, that's pretty good at the end of the day. Also, Dimension Shifter's kind of fallen out of favor a wee little bit. I mean, Kashtiras is obviously the one playing it, but the consistency that Purely just has going for it kind of feels much stronger than Kashtiras. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, Kashtiras can brick. Oh god, it can brick. We've seen those YCS finals. We've seen those terrible hands here, but from where I'm sitting right now and looking at the early week 1, week 2 data here, Purely has edged itself over the competition, and it's got better coverage. It just feels like a better deck overall. And honestly, with that change, I think that's amazing. All right, poor Kashtiras getting bullied by the poor Cat in the Hat deck. What a great time! You think Dimension Shifter would beat that Purely? Next up with the change is also tier elements here. Now, guess what? When macrocosmo.deck stops running around, tier elements representation has kind of been bolstering up too. Now, this hasn't been, you would have to really be looking to notice this change, honestly. But tier has also, some builds have been cutting King of the Swamp, and they've been playing the other Aqua Fusion sub as well, which means they can gut out the polymerization from the deck. They can honestly open up some different lines of play with this. And once again, I mean, with Kashtiras, when you start to see that representation of macro dial back, you're going to see more of these combo variants kind of start to shine a little bit more. And congratulations, it's what you're seeing right now with tier. Honestly, to be honest with you, if you've not watched tier post ban list, I recommend going through kind of looking at, you know, some of the builds. Xing Ping's a good example to like look at some of the innovations that they have gone through with their list, because there are the deck is it's still got a little bit of RNG to it, but when you look at the combo lines of this deck, it's very, very skilled at the end of the day. Yeah, it really is. Like, obviously, I played against this deck last week at Locals, and I got sacked. A mill 2 turned into a mill 12, and I think it was what, like a mill 15, because we hit the was the Agido, the Keldo, the Kelbeck, 2 names, an additional mill 3, and I'm just sitting here, I'm like, this is disgusting. Like, one accelerator just, you know, puts them back in play. And I had the sphere mode to break the board the first time, and then after the sphere mode, you know, the mill 15 just turned the deck all right back on, and they just made another insane board at the end. I'm just like, this is disgusting. All right, remember, it's our turn when you're playing on my turn. Ugh. But yeah, Tier's representation overall has been pushing up strictly because macro has been dialed back. The deck is it's very skill based, and I like that. Warrior Toolbox deck. So this is going to encompass anything with the Infernoble package, anything with the Battling Boxer / sub package in here. You know what? We're going to toss some Enkanko in here, and somebody was trying a Phantom Knight deck. All right, I guess we'll toss that in here as well. So anything Warrior related has gotten a pretty massive boost, specifically the Infernoble stuff. Also, I mean, being able to loop Spar, I think it's Spar 3 to 4 times to do some of this stuff. They also have like great Shogun Shien play that like forces your opponent to only be able to play 1 spell and trap. I think the true lock of that doesn't come out till Age of Overlord, but you know, hero players, Warrior players will be hyping anything up that they can to actually make their deck feel like it's absolutely amazing. Deck dies to sphere mode. I think they end on what, like double, or they end on like double Charl, like Isolde, or like some sort of modification to that play. The Isolde can turn into other things. Depends on how well they opened up at the end of the day, but the deck's end boards they're scary for what they want to be, but compared to the other half of the meta, I feel like they're just better decks in the room. But I'm not going to take anything away from this deck, because it has been a massive, massive monster. It has been something that's going to continue to be a massive monster because, you know, you just got access to all the Battling Boxer stuff, which kind of turns the whole package into a little bit of another creature at the end of the day. So, yeah, Warrior Toolbox decks have been on the rise. This hasn't necessarily been impacted by Kashtiras. To be fair, the macro side of things, turning off the graveyard does kind of hurt them a little bit. And I mean, not being able to, you know, recur back Ronald, you know, get all the little pushes back that you would from, you know, the advantage pile can be a little bit annoying, but they've found ways to pretty much overcome it. Just win the dice roll. Like, that's the greatest part about all of this. So, where do we sit here with, you know, you have Unchained, you have Labyrinth, you have all of these other decks, Rika, Sun, Avalon, that have been kind of sitting here in the room doing things. Well, first of all, I want to subnote Unchained here. Labyrinth in Unchained, it's not a fun time. Labyrinth players have been complaining about Unchained for a little while now because everything just infinitely floats. Like, what do you do? Nothing, all right? The floatability is kind of bullying Labyrinth. Labyrinth representation also kind of feels like it's been down a little bit. I think we'll have to wait and see more how regional data gravitates towards that side of things, because we'll definitely have a lot more rogue there, but Unchained and Labyrinth have definitely been some of the, they're fighting their own battle over there. Rika's on Avalon's still sitting at the dinner table. It's still doing its thing. It's no real surprise. Same thing with Rescue Ace. Rescue Ace has been getting some popularity. Synchron as well. All of the decks that you've been pretty used to seeing at this point in time are still here. I wanted to emphasize, you know, the change in Kashtiras with the overall reflection of purely Tier and some of these other graveyard-based decks in this video to kind of give you the overall impact to why these numbers are starting to reflect the way they are and why we're seeing these changes in the meta right now. And a lot of it can be simply attributed to fatigue. All right, people, you will have natural changes in the meta like this, and I think it's actually been pretty nice to see the overall shifts so far with how things are going. So, what do you guys think? Are you happy to see, you know, purely on top for a little while? Please leave a comment down below to what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.